everyone, in today's video we'll be making a COVID-19 protocol checklist which is very useful for our everyday life in this kind of situation. So there will be 8 total protocols that will be included in this video, and how to use this app is basically only to check the box whenever we are done with that protocol, and if we check one of the box, the number of done protocols will continue to add by 1. And when we uncheck the protocol, then it will also decrease the number by 1. If we check everything, then a notification will appear here to notify us that we are done with the checklist. And to reset all of it at once, instead of pressing one by one, we can press this reset button and everything would be going back to 0 protocols checked. So let's jump straight into making it. Starting with the design of the application, the first thing that you would like to arrange is the screen 1 properties. And here, the first thing is to have a center horizontal alignment, because we want one of the components to be in the center of the phone or the tablet. And then with the background color of the application, it is according to your own preference, but for this case, I would like to give an example of the orange one. And the first thing is to put the first label, which will be the title of the application, and rename it into COVID-19 Protocols Checklist. And the font size to 25. And the second thing you would like to add is a horizontal arrangement for the line in which the number of the checklist that the user have done will be shown. Inside this, we'll put 3 labels. The first label would be done. I would write 0 here because this is the first setting of the application, so none of the checklist protocols have been done yet. Make sure that you have the same properties for all 3 of these labels, because then the design would be very weird for the user to see. And finally, we will have more arrangements here. This would be also horizontal arrangements. Since we have 8 total protocol checklists, then we would also have to have 8 horizontal arrangements here. So all of these 8 checklists will have the same properties, so I would only give you one example and then you can copy it for the rest of the checklist later on. So first, put the background color into none, and then the alignment into both center for horizontal and vertical. For the width, we fill pattern, and then inside this we will put 1 label and 1 checkbox. The checkbox is here. For the text, the first one is wear mask or mask, and for the checkbox, I would put it into a smaller size so that it would not be as big as the writing itself. And for the name of the protocol, I would put all of them into 60% width, because then it would be the check here would all be aligned. So here I am done with getting all of the checklists into my application, and then the last part of the design would be adding a button below This is for the reset button. So whenever you want to reset or uncheck all of your protocols, then you can simply press this button. We also want to add space between the title and the others. And the second label that I put here, this is for the writing where after the user checked all of these 8 protocols, then it will show notifications to the user that they have completed the checklist. So it will say checklist completed. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into the blocking. So the first thing that you want to do is to have a variable that defines the number of checklists that is done by the user. So at first, we will initialize it into 0 because none of it will be done when the application first starts. And we would find screen1 initialize and set global done to 0. And then we'll also want to make a procedure in which every checklist would be false, so none of the checklists would be checked. And then we'll want to call the text that shows the number of protocols done by the user to the variable. So set user done text to global done. And we will also put the label 2, which is into label 2 is this one. Let's just rename it first. Completed. And then after screen1 initialize, then we would want to have a program in which every time one of the checklists is checked, then the number of global done will be added by 1, and also the number of the text in the user done would be also added by 1. And to do this, instead of manually inputting each of the checklist into the program one by one, we have the any component here, and we use the any component any checkbox. So when any of the checkbox is changed, then we would want to have another if conditional to check whether the checkbox is already checked or not yet checked. So if if the checkbox is checked, it means that the checkbox is already checked by the user. Then the component will be, we will set global done by global done plus 1. So we add 1 into the variable. But then if the checkbox is changed from being already checked into not checked, then we will want to set the global done into global done -1 and not +1 to avoid an error in which every time it would be edited by 1. And then finally, we will set the user done text into global done again. And now we will also check if the number of global done have reached 8, which is the maximum number of the protocols, then this checklist completed will show up. So if get global done is equal to 8, then we will set the completed one into checklist completed. And then finally is the reset button. So when the user pressed the reset button, then all of the checkbox will be set into false again. So simply we just call the check procedure. And that is it for the coding. Let's try it out to our simulator. So here is our simulator, and as we can see here, then everything is as we have designed. So when we check one of the box, okay, apparently there was some error that I made earlier, and this is supposed to be the component in which the checkbox is changed, and not this one. And for this one, you should have another else to say that when the global done is not 8, then the completed text should be nothing. So let's check into our simulator. As we can see here, when we check one of them, it will become 1 from 0, and then it will keep on adding. But then once we uncheck one of it, then the writing would be gone, and this will go back from 8 to 7. And let's try when we press reset, then everything will be unchecked and the number of done protocols is going back to 0. So that is it for our video today. I hope that this would be very useful for every one of you in this COVID-19 situation. See you in the next video and stay safe everyone.